Borderlands 3.
So we get to play it, but it looks like you'll encounter very different types of threats on this planet as opposed to Pandora.
In this demo, did you get a chance to play with all billion combinations of guns?
I would say we didn't get to play with nearly as many guns as that, but we got to play with a new sniper rifle, new shotguns, a couple of new assault rifles, a lot of which had like this special effect where they would fire a laser just randomly like during their fire, so which was great with the shotgun because I would just be blasting people. It was double barrel, and you're like, oh, they have like a teeny tiny little bit of health left, and then a laser would just shoot off at the last second and like just knock them in the head and kill them. I'm like, okay, that's really awesome. And I've been playing Borderlands 2 again because the new DLC just dropped, and it's amazing how much more distinct the guns feel in Borderlands 3 as opposed to Borderlands 2. In Borderlands 2 was like a lot of variations of seemingly the same types of guns. In Borderlands 3, all the guns feel very distinct from one another.
All right, well, that was a look at Maz, one of the new Vault Hunters from Borderlands 3 and her Iron Bear mech suit. Borderlands 3 is out on September 13th. Stay tuned to GameSpot for tons of more coverage coming to you from E3.
Alessandro, Avengers reveal last night was met with a little bit of a mixed reaction, but you got to see gameplay.
Yeah.
What kind of game is it? They didn't really answer that in the video.
Yeah, to be honest, they were a little bit sort of hesitant on trying to explain that actually during the demo as well. I can say that I was in that camp that had some sort of mixed feelings about the game. Basically, the demo is set, during that trailer, which is, during this battle in the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's basically like you're jumping between the different characters of, from the Avengers, like, Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, Black Widow, and of course Captain America. The demo starts off playing as Thor, and and the combat itself looks very similar to sort of Batman Arkham. The sort of free-form nature, we can bounce between different enemies, but it's got a sort of a hint of God of War as well, where you sort of like have like third-person aiming, where you can actually throw your hammer and of course call it back, just like Kratos.
Does it change depending on which character you are?
Yes. So after Thor, it sort of jumped to Iron Man, and of course he can freely fly around. And this particular section of the level had him chasing after sort of aerial enemies, and he was using his missiles. And eventually, he went on the ground and jumped back into that sort of familiar, like a Batman Arkham style combat. There was a bit of a focus on sort of these quick time events. So when Hulk sort of grabs the tank, which we saw in the trailer, there's like a triangle button to use it and sort of throw it against the other enemies. And the developers I talked to said that was mostly just for the tutorial and just to teach players how sort of those mechanics work. But I did notice that there were a lot of those very Uncharted-esque sort of set piece moments where you had to mash a triangle or hold up down a particular button to sort of lift an object. So
interesting. So based on what you saw, which doesn't sound like it was too much, would these, I guess, missions play out depending on which character you are? Like, for instance, if I'm playing with you and you're playing Iron Man and I'm playing Hulk, I'm on the ground primarily, right?
Yes.
Did it look like there were different objectives for different characters, maybe, that kind of make you feel like you're part of a team in this bigger battle?
There are definitely moments where we saw Iron Man and sort of Thor interacting with one another, but each level is very much designed around every character you can play as. So during this level, the key objectives were just focusing on clearing out all of Taskmaster's minions. Taskmaster being, of course, the recurring Marvel villain. In this level, there was a lot of focus on sort of I guess telling the larger story, because this was sort of the beginning of the game, which will of course set the stage for what's to come. But also, there's a lot of character-specific moments, during this actual level, Black Widow would eventually face off against Taskmaster during I guess sort of an extended boss fight. So it was interesting seeing how each character plays, and in a lot of ways they do feel like the star, they could be the star of their own game, considering how many skills they have and what they can do. They talked about how each character has their own sort of developed skill tree that you can sort of unlock different moves, and you can sort of have your own key loadouts, and you can also unlock gear as well. So
yeah, you mentioned there's maybe not quite a loot system, but there's different gear you can get for your heroes.
Yes.
Does that show up like on your character? Do you see that represented on your character, or is it just a background sort of thing?
Oh yeah, I mean, basically how you sort of outfit your character with the gear will basically change like completely like their character.
Okay.
So your version of Iron Man will look totally different from your friend's version of Iron Man.
Interesting.
So
Okay. So after seeing about 20 minutes, do you have a clear idea of what this game is? Are you excited for it?
you know, I mean, I feel like there's still much more we can learn about the game to sort of like, I guess, sort of put all the pieces of the puzzle together. The developer I spoke with actually said this is sort of a bespoke campaign